Hey, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Yes, I'm back on my old channel, Black Warning, and you're looking at a beautiful skyline in New York City. And that's my little dog in the background. I apologize. Yes. Oh, I haven't done this format before. I tried to do a live stream, but I don't have enough subscribers. Yes, Black Warning. I haven't put up any content on Black Warning for quite a while. I have another channel, Spirit Journey, that presided for the past few years. Yeah, I got banned on the channel, but I want to put something up. And I remember, hey, I have this channel. I'm not sure whether it could upload. Um, so I'm just finding out. Yeah, I can't do a live stream, but this one allows me to record and then upload. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about let me put this up. Yeah, I want to talk about the social climate right now with regard to primarily two people I'm thinking about, and I'm very grieved in my heart. I was just listening to a video by a black YouTuber, a man, and he shared a video on the artist named Ye or Kanye. And I also want to talk about the basketball player who is had to apologize to a particular community, and so those I want to talk about. Um, the YouTuber that I was just watching on Ye, Ye has a clothesline that he's promoting, and the YouTuber noticed in the video of him showing his clothing line that the people around him don't look like him. And I understood what he was saying, that you 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 you're in a community, you're in a black community, and you should have people who represent from your community. And he used to be, this YouTuber was a business person, and he made sure that when they hired people, that they hired people from their community. And I did comment on the video. I basically agree with him, but the realities. Yeah, I am a black woman, born and raised in the United States, and still living in New York City. The dynamics in America is a little different, and you're not encouraged to work together. But it doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. I hope it's going to change. But this is through the perspective of what I noticed growing up. Black people in America are not encouraged to hire their own. Black people in America are not encouraged to hire their own. And a lot of successful black business people tend to hire, as they say, what one particular person said, that it is illegal to just hire someone just because, not illegal, but it's being prejudiced to only say, I'm only going to hire a particular race. That person believes in hiring people who want to work for him and hiring people who are qualified. And he admitted that he has like a farm or something like that. And all the people he has working for him are all people from south of the border, our borders. And it's just how it works. Some of us in the black community, we see we're in a social system, and we're fragmented. We're fragmented from one another. And our social system, we don't live near farms, even though originally in American history, we were on farms. And I think for some of us, it's a reminder of the past, and we want to be away from our past. But you should handle your own food. If you eat, you should be a part of that system of in gathering your food. You don't want people from outside to be the only one handling your food source. What are they going to put in it? GMO? Just saying. But we may not want to be reminded. And plus, people who are just coming in, they're very focused. And they come in as a collective, and they work as a collective. They know what their country holds, and they want out. So there's a strong pull and drive to start off in these industries. I call them industries that are on the peripheral, meaning it's the first type of job when you're from the outside coming into a nation. You're going to get those peripheral jobs. Those jobs that are kind of like disconnected from mainstream. Not that it's not important, these peripheral jobs, but it's like a line of defense, What jobs are on the peripheral? So they generally will include agriculture. You work for a company, okay. You're going to work in, let's say, cleaning up the buildings, janitorial. And as you get more and more interested, then you get more in the inside. You'd be one of the workers, then the supervisor, then the manager, then the upper management, then the executive, owner, it's in steps. So yes, Kanye, or Ye, is selling clothing. Now I live here in New York City, and the clothes industry, garment industry, we have a big one here in New York City. Who works in them? In New York City, it's always the newcomers, new people who are new in town, people with limited work experience, meaning like jobs that you have to be trained, like let's say an accountant, medicine, teacher. Those things you need specific training to do that. But things like manufacturing, they generally might teach you, well, you have some basic skill in it. That's why you might have chose it. And that's like the first line, first line of entry for jobs. So so the industry, clothing industry, again, it's people who are just newcomers. You do not find that many American blacks actually sewing the item, but you may find some black men who package it and deliver it. That you'll have. So I also find that with that being said, that there's hierarchies, there's different levels of entry for jobs. And again, you have the peripheral jobs. And then some of us don't want to work in certain industries because of the pay, or it's too reminding of the past. um, blacks aren't encouraged to work together. I it seems like this experience I had to do an internship in college, and I worked at a like a hospital, a small hospital, community hospital, and they need you know cafeteria, cooking, and I worked in there for a couple of days in my training, and it was very eye opening. Most of the people were from the Caribbean and the vicinity. None of them, the mass majority were Hispanic. The people who served the food, all of them were Hispanics. Um, I think they were primarily from Puerto Rico. You had a light-skinned Dominican lady, and she was like a supervisory type position. Super, yes, a type of supervise. And then you had a nutritionist. She college grad. So she was a licensed nutritionist, and she was from West Africa. You had the person in charge. Um, I forget. She could have been Italian Jewish background. She was nice. She was very fair and firm. Um, but I noticed in particular there were two other people there who um, worked on the team. Um, I they I forget exactly what. I mean, they're all in the kitchen. Um, one was originally from Jamaica, a black Jamaican, and the other one from Trinidad of East, from Asian Indian descent. And I noticed the behavior of the people there. All these so-called Hispanic people there, they were quiet and they just did their job. They worked very well together. There was no turmoil between them. But who was acting out were these two people, the Jamaican and the Trinidadian. And they had an angry spirit about them, always arguing, yelling. And I didn't understand that. Oh, they did have one Cuban, light-skinned Cuban. He had an angry spirit. He had to show me a few things. Like I had to train under all the things I was done there. So I had to learn how to serve. I had to learn how to manage the storage of the food. The whole network there. What ran a kitchen. Those two were very problematic. And they were like a cancer. And I've seen this type of behavior before, but this was very exaggerated, their behavior. And what I see is that those were the only two without college who worked in the office, Anglophones, English speakers. And there was no harmony with them. And I think this happens when you're of the minority within a minority, and your group is not represented. Okay, the largest group there were Hispanics, and they came from other places. And then when they paired with people, a black or the East Indian, it's like anger, and it's something. I saw this before at an office that did a mental health. It was a mental health clinic, and they had the people at the front desk. All but one were Hispanic. I mean, all of them were Hispanic except for one, and that one was an American black, a dark-skinned black female. a non-Hispanic, and she had that same scowl on her face. And the Hispanic ladies were all chatty, and speaking Spanish. They also spoke English, you know. They could speak English, but they um, were speaking Spanish amongst themselves. And I see how she's looking. And it's the same type of spirit that those two people, English speaking people, in that cooking place, kitchen, I should say. People know when they're there and their social position. They know they're not liked, they know they're outnumbered, and they know they're not favored. And sometimes foreign languages are spoken around them, and it's spoken around them to make them feel uncomfortable. That's what I deducted from it. And I think it's sad. And I was also in a situation. Um, I was the only black in the department, and yeah, there was one other black male. He worked in a different room. I worked in the pastries, baking, and it was very stressful. The people who I worked for, the person in charge was a black American, but the people under him were all Asian. And when I came in, it was an assumption. Get this. See, it's racism in part of it, or racialistic thinking, I should say. An Asian man said to me, "Oh, that's your husband?" I said, "What?" "Oh, I just thought he was your husband because he's black." I said, "No, he's my boss." "Oh, I'm sorry." Then he deprecates himself. He said, "That was stupid of me." He apologized, and his apology was well accepted. He realized his error, but see, the fact that what I am and what the boss was, that he could only perceive that I must be the wife. Okay, and then the man, the assistant of the black man, did not like me, and he said up front, "I wanted my so and so to get that job. How did you get that job?" Blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, whoa, because he and the boss had to, interview me. He was in the room when I was being interviewed, and I just, he let it known that, I just applied for the job. I looked on the wall, I saw that a job was being offered, and applied for the job. And the job was over the person he wanted to groom. The person that he wanted, he worked well, but he had a bad attitude. He was angry all the time, and well, I lost that job. I lasted 2 weeks there. Yeah, I cried. Yeah, the name calling. I when I got fired, I'm not gonna get deep into why I got fired. But the person in charge, the black guy, I was under scrutiny by his assistant, and he wanted to save face. So what I learned in business that, see, a lot of blacks, when given the opportunity in hiring and firing, they are walking on eggshells, and they don't want to come across like that they care about their own, or that they'd shown favoritism, or you want to be like you're equal. And for him to stand up for me was going to ruin his reputation. But what doesn't happen is that uh, a black person in charge usually has many other ethnic groups under him. And it's expected of that black person, whoever it is, to treat the other people well and to hire those other people. And you are discouraged to hire your own. Now, I didn't know who was the boss at that division. I had no idea. I needed a job. I went to the company and I just applied. I was desperate for a job. I was new on the island. Um, this is what happens. You're scrutinized. You're watched. And if you deviate from what's expected of you, what is expected of any black employer, especially if there are no other blacks there, that you have to cater to those other people. And if you hire your own, you're showing favoritism. But yet it's okay for other races to hire their own. If you're Hispanic, they hire all the Hispanics. If you're Asian, you hire all Asians. And no one blinks an eye. If you're a European, you hire other Europeans, etc., etc. But if you're a black American, you're not allowed to hire black people. And if you do, you're being prejudiced. Why is this, people? Why is this? I was in another situation. I was being harassed. I was the only black there. But again, the person in charge, the director, was a black woman. And I wrote her an email to let her know, hey, this is what's going on behind the scene. And she didn't stick up for me. And she let the person, her assistant, fire me. This is my experience in the business world. When you have one black person, and they can have a high position, but you have no real power because you're there because you want to kiss people's behind and you want to keep your job. I saw a college professor, and they pulled him down and got him fired from the job because they didn't like him. And I felt guilty that I didn't speak out to protect him. That happened many years ago. I still feel badly about it. But this is it. If you don't cater to them, and you may not have done anything wrong, he didn't do anything wrong. But you have no support system. And they never hire you to be in any power seat. And so this YouTuber that I was watching today mentioned about that is there really racism in America? And he had a picture of 4 black mayors. I think one from LA, one from Chicago, one from New York, and I forget the 4th one. But these people, my experience, they get black people to be mayors in these large cities as, I called it, pit bulls. They're to do the dirty work, to keep that community down, and to not assist black people to rise up. They're used as pit bulls, in my opinion. And once the job is done, they remove them and place some other ethnic group there. And that group will help their own. That is my experience, what I see. I live in New York City. We have a black mayor. And things are really, really bad. And when I see something like that, a black mayor of a town, major American town, you get out of there because it's going to be hell. And it's not there to elevate any black people. So yeah, they're criticizing Ye, but he hides who he hired. I do notice that though. People around him don't seem to look like him. Like the person who was driving him in that one video did not look like him. So it was a question. I did have the question in my mind. But again, some people are not in certain industries. You hire a driver, these are usually people from Asia, South Asia, and Africa, West Africa, at least in New York City. The cabbies, they're all from other places, but very few American blacks. So some things, they're just not in. So as for the basketball player now, the basketball player, he had to apologize again. And it was too painful for me. I think his name is Kyle. I don't follow basketball. I apologize. I think his name is Kyle. And yeah, he's the one that just, he just uploaded a link. That's all he did. He never said anything. But the Wolves pulled him down. He initially gave an apology. It seemed very straightforward, very humane, but that wasn't enough. And they gave him different ultimatums that he had to fulfill. He had to fulfill about 6 ultimatums. And he had to give in, and he started to speak, and his eyes looked dead. He looked like a zombie. My heart reached out to him. I gave prayers to his direction, you know. What happened here? What happened in the past 2 weeks with this man? I think he was mistreated by the system. I thought it was unfortunate that the other black sports people said very horrible things to him. I mean, about him. And again, Kyle, he never said anything evil. He was very respectful, but these other 2 former sports stars said horrible things, and I would never expect those 2 to say something like that. So again, we're not supposed to, the society doesn't want us to support one another. Even on that level, these are millionaires, or have at least made millions in their lifetime. Large contracts. And even the rich, it's like a poor rich man. You have money, but you're poor in a sense because you don't really control your destiny. And it's like you're a rich slave. You're allowed to make money, but it's for somebody else. It's for somebody else's system. But in the end, we see what happens. We saw what happened. And he had to give in, this basketball player, and apologize again and go to all this sensitization classes and all this crap. When are we going to wake up, people? I'm grieved in my spirit. I'm grieved at the city I live in. When are we going to wake up? My city, New York City, is horrible. The state of blacks who live in New York City is chaos. I went to my old borough of Queens, and the blacks there, when you get out the subway, are in a derelicts. When I was growing up there, you didn't see derelicts there. Now you do. And the area now is dominated by a different group, with blacks on the peripheral, scraps. It is pathetic. Please, America, please, people, please stop hurting one another. I am so grieved. And I don't know how to change things, or if I can change anything. So whether you're rich or poor, in the end, they don't want you to help yourself or help your group. They don't even want you to marry people from your group. If you're influential, you are infiltrated. And I think Ye, also known as Kanye, I think he was infiltrated, and that they chose his wife for him. But you see where she is now. She even blocked his messages. Why is that? See that? It was so expected that was going to happen. That they're going to separate, and she's going to act like she don't know him. How come this always seems to happen? They snare you guys, you black men, with these foreign women, and you don't think. You don't think why they're pairing you with that woman. These are tricks of the trade to find you. You know that she's friends with the Clintons, and they used her to manipulate him. It turned. Yeah, he mentioned that he didn't know that his former wife was friends of the Clintons. See, a lot of things happen behind the scenes, and a lot of things that you will encounter is already predetermined. And you think you're just going into a new situation that you're in control. You are being observed and controlled. Let us wake up. Let us start praying. Get in focus. And somehow, let's defragmentize and come together. Let us heal ourselves mentally and start self-love. We need to love ourselves and love the people of our community. We have to stop harming one another. We need to stop lying. I notice also within the black community. Like I used to live in another state. I lived briefly in Hawaii. And I decided to go back to New York City. Because I missed, it was very expensive. And I missed not being around American blacks. Came back to New York City. And there are not that many in my circle and where I live, in the building where I live. And I was just so eager to get what you call a black friend. There were 2 black women in my building. And I had to pull away because of corruption, their self-corruption and lying. I don't want to be around negative people, cursing spirits, and a lying spirit. I said, this is I don't want to be around that energy. So I pulled away, and I stayed by myself. And it was received very negatively and with hostility. Let's stop being hostile towards one another. Sometimes you have to pull away to save yourself. But love one another where you can. See, sometimes we compromise ourselves and they pull us down with them. See, it's like a catch-22. You don't want to get involved with anything negative or illicit. But everybody else outside of that, it's like, so where do you go? Where do you go for community? Where do you go? I thought the church was part of the answer. The church just keeps you in mental poverty. My experience. Yeah, we have to help ourselves. We have to help ourselves. That's all I want to say. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.